That's exactly what happened when my roommate stole my rent money, blamed me for not paying, and tried to get me evicted. But what she didn't know was, I wasn't about to just take it. I was going to make sure she lost everything, and I wasn't going to lay a finger on her. I was going to let the entire building do the dirty work for me. I moved into Cedar Oaks Apartments after a brutal breakup that left me with a few suitcases and a need for a clean slate. The apartment hunt had been brutal too. Everything was either a dump or wildly overpriced. So when I found a listing online for a bright 2-bedroom with reasonable rent, I jumped on it. Ashley, the girl already living there, seemed perfect on paper. Mid-20s, part-time yoga instructor, a dreamy Instagram aesthetic full of pastel clothes, fairy lights, and positive vibes only slogans. She sounded chill, clean, quiet, exactly what I needed. The first 2 months went smoothly enough. We split the bills, took turns cleaning, watched terrible reality shows together sometimes. I figured I had hit the roommate jackpot. But then came month 3. That's when the cracks started showing. It began small. Ashley started leaving little passive-aggressive notes around the apartment. Remember to clean up after yourself. We're low on toilet paper again. Always with those fake smiley faces that somehow made it worse. I brushed it off. Everyone had their quirks, right? But then, one morning, our landlord, Mr. Hayes, showed up at our door, frowning with a clipboard in his hand. "Rent's late," he said gruffly. "Just checking in." I blinked at him, confused, because I had handed Ashley my half of the rent, $775 in cash, 2 weeks earlier. I told Mr. Hayes I'd talk to her and closed the door. Ashley came out of her room, yoga mat slung over her shoulder, earbuds in. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Mr. Hayes said rent's late?" She waved me off like I was annoying her. "Oh yeah, I'm going to the bank today. It's fine." And because I wanted peace, I believed her. But that wasn't the worst part. The next day, another knock. Mr. Hayes again. Still no rent. And this time, Ashley had a very different story. She crossed her arms and said, loud enough for Mr. Hayes to hear, "Well, technically, you never gave me your half." I swear the world tilted. I sputtered something like, "Of course I did." But the damage was done. Mr. Hayes gave me a look like I was a liar and left. Ashley just smirked and went back to her room, closing the door like nothing happened. I stood there in the hallway, fists clenched, heart pounding. She had gaslighted me in front of our landlord. She had stolen my money and was pretending I was the deadbeat. I barely slept that night. Rage and disbelief twisted inside me until they hardened into something colder. Fine, Ashley. If you want a war, you're going to get one. But I wasn't going to fight fair. The next morning, I started laying the groundwork. I knew if I confronted Ashley directly, she'd just deny everything and paint me as crazy to anyone who would listen. She was good at that, playing innocent, flipping the script. I needed to be smarter. First step? Documentation. I started keeping meticulous notes, dates, times, conversations. I took pictures of the apartment, the common areas, any messes she left behind, screenshots of text messages, audio recordings of her casually admitting stuff like, "Yeah, I forgot to pay the electric bill. Oops. Hope it doesn't get shut off, LOL." She made it easy, honestly. It didn't take long before I had a tidy little folder labeled Ashley's Greatest Hits, a ticking time bomb waiting to be dropped. Meanwhile, Ashley was escalating. She started telling neighbors that I was unreliable and sketchy with money. Little comments dropped like seeds at the mailboxes in the laundry room. I heard one lady whisper, "Isn't that the girl who doesn't pay her rent?" As I passed by carrying groceries. It stung deep. I could feel my reputation slipping, and in an apartment complex this size, gossip spread faster than mold in a leaky bathroom. But instead of panicking, I smiled. Because Ashley didn't realize that I was already working on phase 2. If the building thought I was unreliable, I would show them exactly who she was. I just needed a stage. And then, like the universe wanted revenge too, it handed me a golden opportunity. The building's annual tenant appreciation barbecue. It was tradition. Free food, music, everyone mingling in the courtyard. And best of all, open mic announcements, a casual way for tenants to share updates, promote small businesses, swap furniture, whatever. I signed up. Not to sing, not to promote, but to destroy. The day of the barbecue, Ashley dressed like she was walking into a Coachella photo shoot. Tiny dress, huge hat, glittery eyeshadow. Flouncing around, laughing too loud, soaking up the attention. She thought she owned the place. Meanwhile, I played the wall. Low-key, sipping a soda, smiling politely, waiting. The building manager, Sam, eventually got on the mic. "Hey everyone, quick announcement break. If you have something to share, line up here." I slipped into line, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. 2 people ahead of me, then 1, then me. I took the mic, smiled wide, and said, "Hi everyone. I just wanted to give a huge thank you to whoever returned my missing rent envelope anonymously last week. Super appreciated. You literally saved me from an eviction." There was a beat of confused silence. I continued, sweet as pie. "I'm just glad honesty still exists. It's scary when someone you trust, like a roommate, would steal from you, especially when there's proof." I held up my phone like I was showing a cute cat video. In reality, it was a frozen screenshot of a Venmo receipt, a fake one Ashley had made and accidentally texted me weeks ago while trying to cover her tracks. Ashley's face blanched, then flushed bright red. The crowd murmured. Someone whispered, "Wait, is that the yoga girl?" Another, "Did she really steal rent money?" Ashley tried to bolt, but it was too late. The seed had been planted, and it would grow fast. But that was just the beginning. After my little announcement at the barbecue, the vibe shifted immediately. Whispers turned into full-blown conversations. Neighbors who had once smiled at Ashley now gave her tight, suspicious looks. The same people she had poisoned against me were now side-eyeing her like she was radioactive. I didn't need to say another word. Human nature did the rest. But I wasn't done. While Ashley scrambled to fix her crumbling reputation, I moved into phase 3. Operation Isolation. I started casually talking to other tenants, not gossiping, just sharing concerns, like how Ashley would leave the laundry machines full of wet clothes for hours, or how she borrowed packages from the mailroom without asking, or how there had been complaints about strong, weird smells from our apartment, incense and herbal remedies. Ashley burned constantly, but which now sounded suspicious. It wasn't lying. It was framing reality in a way that made people notice what they had been ignoring. Once people start noticing little things, they piece together the bigger picture themselves. Ashley's smiling act didn't stand a chance against the slow drip of visible, undeniable facts. Within a week, people were openly avoiding her. Conversations died when she walked into the lobby. Elevator doors somehow always closed before she could squeeze in. Even Mr. Hayes, the landlord, suddenly had no available units when she casually asked about moving into a solo 1-bedroom. She was trapped, unwanted, alone, exactly where I wanted her. But the final blow was still coming. I knew Ashley's biggest weakness wasn't just her ego. It was her total lack of financial planning. She lived paycheck to paycheck, teaching yoga classes that barely covered her Starbucks addiction, let alone rent. Without my half of the money coming in on time, she was screwed. And trust me, I had no intention of handing her another dime. Here's how I made sure of that. I stopped paying Ashley directly. Instead, I emailed Mr. Hayes, CC'd Ashley, and said from now on I would pay him my half directly. Check, Venmo, carrier pigeon, whatever he preferred. I sent Mr. Hayes my full rent, but not hers. I made it clear, politely but firmly, that Ashley was responsible for her share. I attached screenshots of my previous payments to Ashley, the real ones, to show a pattern. Mr. Hayes, covering his own liability, accepted my half and left Ashley to fend for herself. Without my money buffering her, Ashley couldn't cover the full rent. First month, she scraped it together somehow, probably maxed out a credit card. Second month, late payment. Third month, partial payment. Warning notices started appearing taped to our door, thick yellow papers screaming pay or vacate in ugly block letters. Ashley cried in the hallway once when she thought no one was looking. I didn't gloat. I just observed. Because the best revenge isn't loud, it's cold. Precise. I wasn't going to scream at her. I wasn't going to fight her. I was going to make her life so suffocatingly miserable that she would have no choice but to leave. And that's exactly what happened. It didn't take long before Ashley started cracking. Gone were the loud, cheerful entrances, the Instagram photo shoots in the courtyard. She started slinking around like a ghost, eyes darting, hoping no one would notice her, or worse, confront her. Meanwhile, the eviction notices kept stacking up. Mr. Hayes gave her chance after chance, probably because dealing with legal paperwork is a headache. But Ashley was spiraling. The final nail came when Mr. Hayes, fed up, tacked a notice to vacate on our door. 30 days, non-negotiable. Ashley tried everything. She begged me to cover her just for 1 month. "I'll pay you back," she promised, voice trembling, eyes wide and watery. I just smiled sadly and said, "I'm sorry, Ashley. After what happened with the rent mix-up, I really can't trust handling money through you anymore," which wasn't even a lie. Her face crumpled in real time. She knew she was out of moves. But the real revenge wasn't just making her leave. It was making sure everyone knew why she was leaving. I could have let it fade into whispers, but no. I wanted her fall from grace to be complete. So the week before her move-out deadline, I took one final step. I posted anonymously on the building's resident forum. It was simple. Innocent, really. "Hey neighbors, reminder to always keep track of your payments. Recently discovered my roommate had been pocketing my rent money and lying about it to management. Super grateful to Mr. Hayes for helping me sort it out. Stay safe, everyone." No names mentioned, no slander, just facts. And man, did that spark a wildfire. Turns out, I wasn't the only one Ashley had messed with. She had borrowed kitchen gadgets, never returned them. She had double-booked parking spaces she wasn't renting out. She had racked up noise complaints by throwing late-night healing ceremonies with drums and chanting. All the little sins came tumbling out like a collapsing house of cards. Neighbors started openly calling her a thief, a scammer, a liar. By the time she hauled her last box down to the curb, she wasn't just homeless. She was hated, shunned, blacklisted from every halfway decent rental within a 10-mile radius. Word gets around fast in tight communities, and Cedar Oaks was very tight. But even after she left, the story wasn't over. A few weeks later, I bumped into Mr. Hayes while checking my mail. He grunted a greeting, then said with a rare glint of humor, "Got a new roommate yet?" I shrugged. "Not yet. Taking my time." He nodded approvingly. "You're smart. After the last one, people like that don't change. They just move on to the next victim." He was right. I didn't just want a warm body to split rent with. I wanted peace, respect, and above all, trust. Qualities Ashley would probably spend a long, long time chasing and never find. But the best part? As it turned out, Cedar Oaks kept a running internal do not rent list for especially problematic tenants. Guess whose name went straight to the top? Yep, Ashley. A little birdie told me later she had tried applying to a studio unit in another building owned by the same management company and got laughed out of the leasing office. Karma wasn't just a concept, it was a lifestyle. And Ashley? She was living proof that when you burn bridges, eventually you run out of places to stand. But the final twist was yet to come. About 3 months after Ashley's spectacular downfall, I was finally settling into a peaceful routine. I found a new roommate, Jenna, through a friend of a friend. She was chill, paid her rent directly to the landlord like an adult, cleaned up after herself, didn't fill the air with incense thick enough to summon spirits. For the first time in what felt like forever, my apartment felt like a home again, not a battleground. But then, one night, as I was scrolling through social media, something caught my eye. A familiar name. Ashley. Someone had tagged her in a local Facebook group, one of those ISO roommate pages, where she was begging for housing. I clicked through. Her post was a masterpiece of self-pity. Hey everyone, super urgent. I need a room to rent ASAP. Got screwed over by a toxic roommate. Long story, not my fault. And now I'm homeless. Pulse, no judgment. Just looking for good vibes and honest people. I'm chill, clean, and super reliable. The irony was so thick, I almost choked. She was still blaming others, still lying, still playing the victim, no lessons learned, no growth, just Ashley, adrift in her own consequences. For a brief moment, I felt a tiny stab of pity. Just a flicker. But then I remembered the sleepless nights, the humiliation, the tight, sinking feeling in my chest every time I had to explain to someone that, no, I wasn't a deadbeat, that I paid my rent. I remembered how easily she smiled while stabbing me in the back. And just like that, the pity evaporated. Ashley wasn't a victim. She was a tornado of her own making. I didn't comment on her post. I didn't message her. I didn't warn anyone. I just smiled, closed my laptop, and went to bed in my clean, quiet, paid-up apartment. Because the truth is, sometimes the best revenge isn't fireworks. It's peace. It's watching the people who tried to destroy you slowly, painfully realize that they have no one left to blame except themselves. And by the time they understand that, you're already light years away, living the life they tried to steal from you. And if Ashley ever wondered why every apartment door slammed shut in her face after Cedar Oaks, why every potential roommate suddenly changed their mind, well, some mysteries are better left unsolved. When you betray trust, you don't just lose a friend, you lose your future. And Ashley? She made herself homeless the second she thought she could steal from me and get away with it.